Alex Answer here. So I am recording this on the 5th day of November in the year 2018. And like I predicted, like I felt a few years ago when I first started looking at the topic of protecting one's mind from intrusion on a deeper level, it was always something that fascinated me. But in the world of the internet, post social media, there is now so much information all over the internet. And so there's information about grounding your energy. There's information about how someone can clean out their own consciousness, clean out their own head, and maintain a particular energy space, state of mind, state of focus, to where their mind is less um, influenced. And so the mind is influenced by a lot of different things with regards to the media. I wrote something in 2005 called Mass Media Mind Control, or Mind Control Through Network TV. And I made reference to this, and this is available on the internet. So some of the things that I've talked about, let's see, it's been a couple of months since I've been on Facebook. And one of the things that you may not know is that by heavily being on Facebook and having your images and elements of your emotion, and keep in mind, it's inputting it into a giant database. We don't know where that information is going. And how in this holographic reality, if we will, if you can call it that, in this simulated reality, whatever it really is, this matrix, elements of ourself in the online world, perhaps in the hands of the wrong individuals. I was reading a passage from Psychic Self-Defense yesterday, and there was something about sorcery that was mentioned, or a few nights ago, and people that are involved in the dark arts having some sort of like lock of hair or attempting to. So that was writing in 1930. Fast forward to the year 2018, not to mention the DNA database. They have a lot of people's DNA. And then a lot of people are getting really excited about uploading it for some reason to Heritage or various websites, Ancestry. Always thought that was creepy. Now other people are on board. So think about like the internet version of ourselves, and certain things that are a little bit superficial, things that are distractions, can really be a big time waste of energy. Someone could also enter into a period with a certain type of fear, and it's not that that isn't something to be concerned about. That, and this is how fake news to a certain degree works. I even saw it like, years ago in 2013, predicting all the stuff hitting the what in October of 2013, and then identifying even then the patterning with people's intuition, instincts being played off against them with, as we go into fall, less light, more disinformation on the internet to distract them and amp up these particular fears. As we certain headlines will be basically rising to the top of the surface. So we'll see these October surprise, October, November panics. And even though the economy isn't great, right, there's a reason why people respond to that stuff. And so we really need to have a discussion about human psychology. And as we go into winter, as you go into winter, there's certain things, of course, writing, reading, we're not all perfect, right? But, eating more natural sugars, eating whole foods, drinking filtered water, maybe even letting your water be exposed to sunlight, maybe not drinking out of bottled water containers, eating healthier foods, right? Limiting certain types of movies, but also I don't see anything wrong with, watching some movies and pulling away from YouTube. But YouTube as something to be on all day long, uploading and watching, that doesn't feel like a very natural state. There are certain days where I feel like I have more energy to upload and to share information and ideas, but to look at the totality of that, and the influence of that long term, especially when it's very difficult to make a living doing that, especially when there's a lot of anger energy that seems to be on this platform. And I think that's obvious. The question is there more anger energy than in society, or is there more anger energy in society than on these platforms? Or are they mirroring each other? But, it reaches a level to where the YouTube experience, it's definitely a portal to a lot of different energies that are out there and a lot of different forms of intelligence. And there's also the possibility that this is, of course, being broadcast beyond and to beyond that which we know and understand. All different forms of intelligence. I'm pretty perceptive to energy. And there are times in which we go into higher levels and lower levels. We've been in a lower level for a while. There is a sense, and I think a lot of people are hoping for that sense of resurgence. And how this lines up with the solar cycle and the cosmic rays, that is yet to be developed and to be seen over the course of the next few years. We will see what will become of our world. Some people are absolutely convinced on their level for some reason that we're going in a new spiritual renaissance, but there are certain things that are kind of like, we're still waiting to see certain things on a number of different levels. But number one, first and foremost, is to be able to defend one's mind against just being able to be so easily affected into these memes. There shouldn't be that level of such collective thought amongst the species. It seems hardwired into us, but one really has to protect their own mind if they're going to begin to walk some of the most basic steps spiritually. They're going to have to go through certain things. I haven't read the Carlos Castaneda books in full, but one of the reasons I don't read certain books that go into certain directions is I'm still discovering my own truth, and I'm not trying to overlap and dilute these things. But I want to come up on a conclusion with some basic things to think about. Again, getting some clean sunlight, appreciating, of course, those days where they don't spray. And even in certain areas, you might notice those days in which it's a clear day and the light is coming through. And it's important to get some exercise and to connect with society. But we also have to step back from those elements of society that are basically toxic. And there are elements of society, our people, maybe in some cases your family members, where they're acting out this, because there are elements of our civilization that's dying, it's on its way out, and is in a sick state. Some people are heavily affected by that. And some people may even be so adversely affected by it, and they're not protecting their energy, that they're affected by the death energy of the planet and or society or other things, other attacks. So they may falsely think that there's some sort of solution in offing themselves when it's not a solution. That's an anti-solution. That's the wrong thing to do. Even the world, in our human world of discussing that, there isn't really a larger, as we talked about, arena for discussion. In fact, you want to talk about the fight or flight of today's society? It so much centers around whether or not someone's going to off themselves or hurt someone else, but very less about what society does to individuals. And how when society exiles certain individuals, how that's a toxic situation. So there's a number of different ways in which there can be illness and harm, but there isn't really a premeditative, holistic, honest view of society from society. It's a society that's in denial and there's all different types of, it's like recommending alcoholism for depression or something off the wall, in which it's barely a short-term fix. It's just a distraction and not one that leads to proper health. Looking at the mainstream suggestions from this world, what occupation you should take, how you should treat certain things, how you should deal with certain emotions, a lot of it is toxic. So light, air, breathing, water is key. And being able to ground and hold one's energy. And so we talk about the electric grid incrementally, how it can be an influence, and how for a lot of you that are living in those environments, you need to be strong in those environments. It would help you to know how to shield, and that there's certain times, right, in which some things are going to be way more intense. And so, for example, a little can go a long way with this device, with the computer, whether you're off the grid or whether you're in the urban environment. So there's the reality that's being projected from the internet, being projected from the screen. Then there's the reality that's actually going on within your head. Not to sound like some of the other new age gurus, but there's a part of us that needs to be in the driver's seat and not be letting some of the memes that are going on dictate to us what is valuable. I think what we've seen here is the crystallization of how far herd behavior can be expressed on various political sides, how they can be directed against each other and people that are opposed to their groupthink, and how they can be both equally dangerous towards those that aren't running with another gang. And we're basically looking at right now spiritual warfare within our people, within the species, and in every nation. In all the people, we're seeing this upheaval. We're seeing these mental illnesses. We're seeing, a real lack of spirit. But that is the answer. It is not the pharmaceutical pill. It is the spirit. It is the human force. It is the human energy, right? It is the true human intellect and true human renaissance that needs to rise above this machine. I mean, we've been turning that character from Metropolis from 1924, the French film. You know, the trapped female trapped within the clock. There's also something else you might want to check out. It's the music video by Ladytron called Evil, and that very much seems to represent the suppression of the feminine on an energetic level. And some people have no idea what I'm getting at with that. You know, they think this is feminist rhetoric. There's a lot of them that have no idea on both sides what I'm getting at. Where it's that part of us that's compassionate, along with the masculine, there really is no division. That is really just in our mind. But they do have definition. They do have meaning. They do have value. They do exist in this world of duality, as does night and day, yet they're both linked to the same. It's just what side of the planet that the sun is shining on. So, there are times in which there are renaissances and there's times in which there's dark ages, and we need to be at the forefront of heralding through new ideas and not waiting for the world to save us.